Hello, Curious! Darkness, spiders, and heights are just some of the causes of human fears. But clowns and even dolls can also be added to the list. Yes, you heard well. Dolls. Especially since in this subject the imagination is exceptionally stimulated by horror movies in which you can see them. Following this trail, I guess there's no one who hasn't heard of the famous scary doll named Annabelle. Did you think it was just a scriptwriter's idea? Nothing could be further from the truth. This doll really exists and has an extremely scary story attached to it. What are the details and why does it still cause shivers to run down your spine? What did this demonic doll really look like and where can you go to see in real life? What happened recently that caused the world to freeze in fear because of her? And what interesting information have we found for you related to the popular movies in which this doll played the main role? You will find the answers to all these questions in this Halloween special episode, but before we continue, don't forget to hit the bell and subscription buttons. Let's start with this. Do you even know where the name of the famous puppet Annabelle comes from? Well, it comes from a young girl that has passed away and whose ghost had possessed a rag toy and caused her owners a lot of horrible situations. But we better start from the beginning. This story really happened and goes back to 1970. It took place in an American town when a young nurse named Donna received a birthday present from her mother in the form of a raggedy doll with the official name Raggedy Ann. Meanwhile, in reality, the look of this toy was quite different from the one presented in the Conjuring series and the Annabelle movies, because Raggedy Ann looked quite inconspicuous. Nice red yarn hair, triangular nose, big round eyes, and a wide smile. She was wearing a white dress and her feet were decorated with colourful socks. When Donna's mother saw her in the local handicraft store, she decided that she would be a nice decoration for her daughter's apartment, which she shared with her roommate and friend named Angie. At the beginning, there was no indication that any unexplained events would start happening on their premises. Every morning, Donna left her toy on her bed and went to work. But after just a few days, she noticed some disturbing signals. For example, when she returned to her apartment, the doll was laid out completely differently from the morning when she put it away. She had her arms crossed or her legs would be put one over the other. The situation began to repeat itself every day and the young nurse was very worried. In the end, it even happened that the toy started to change its position and was found in completely different rooms. But it got more frightening when Donna and Angie started to find cards asking for help written in a child's handwriting. It was then that the tenants thought that perhaps someone was breaking into the apartment while they were away and they were being pranked. To see if their suspicions were right, the girls installed special locks on their windows and left various kinds of traps for any potential burglar in the apartment. Unfortunately, this did not work. No one was caught in the act and the doll continued to move around the rooms in an unexplained way. Donna and Angie had already had an idea of how to explain this phenomenon until one day another terrifying situation occurred which proved that what was happening in their apartment was the result of paranormal forces. One evening, a heavy figure that was placed on the table suddenly rose before their eyes and after a while it fell to the floor. But that is not all. Donna also discovered that her doll was stained with blood. The shocked girl, without any hesitation, decided to call a medium. A visit by a person who had contact with the spirits of those who have long passed brought a terrifying discovery. It turned out that a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins had her life ended on the premises of the rented property and it was her spirit that circulated around the apartment. In addition, it decided to possess the doll, which had become its link with the world of the living. Although it was not possible to explain what were the reasons for the girl's passing, this fact alone was so moving for the tenants of the apartment that they decided to live in harmony with their paranormal flatmate and not to get rid of the haunted doll. Moreover, they decided to name the toy after Annabelle. However, they would soon find out how big of a mistake they had made. Their Annabelle started to use physical violence, of which a friend of the girls, Lou, had become a victim. The man hated the toy from the beginning and suggested to his friends that they get rid of it quickly. Meanwhile, at one point, Lou began to have nightmares, but they were much worse than that. One night he dreamt that he was paralyzed and that Annabelle was standing over him, holding his throat and trying to take his life. A few days later, he survived a literal horror movie when during a visit to the girls, he heard a strange sound coming from Donna's room. When he entered it and turned on the light, the doll was lying on the floor. But then Lou started screaming and fell to the floor holding onto his chest. When Angie, who had witnessed the horrifying situation, ran up to him, she discovered traces of blood on his body. Lou had 7 scratches, 3 across and 4 vertical. This event completely changed the girls' approach to Annabelle. They decided to seek help from a specialist, so they went to a priest that they knew, Father Hagen. The priest, after having examined the room, sent them to an exorcist, Father Cook, who, in turn, notified the famous demonologists, a former police officer and medium, Ed and Lorraine Warren. They quickly realized that it was not a ghost that made the home in the girl's apartment, but a demon with dark powers, and that it was just beginning to show its abilities. In addition, the girls' mistake was that they invited him to their house. Therefore, exorcisms were promptly performed and all rooms in the apartment were blessed. And although nothing spectacular took place during the ceremony, just in case, the Warren family decided to take take the doll with them to a special house where they kept cursed objects. The couple never revealed where it all took place, but until recently, Annabelle was at Warren's Occult Museum in Connecticut, where she remained locked in a display case that said, "Do not open." Allegedly, she still continues to pose a threat to anyone who comes near her. Knowing this, imagine the horror that was caused by the news of the doll's escape. On the Wikipedia website dedicated to the demonic toy, an unknown person inserted information that on August 14th, 2020 at 3 AM, Annabelle escaped from the Occult Museum. This news immediately circulated social media, causing considerable confusion. Twitter was in direct uproar from the number of posts and memes on the subject. There were also some funny posts, in which internet users inserted photos of potential places where the doll could be. Others wrote that such things could only happen this year, which, as I am sure you're all aware, is already disturbing enough. Luckily, the whole affair turned out to just be a prank and just a normal rumour. Even Tony Sperry himself, Ed and Lorraine Warren's son-in-law, who has become the owner of the museum after their passing, made a statement on this matter. In a YouTube video, he reassured the internet users by saying, "Annabelle is alive." Then he added, "Well, I shouldn't say she's alive. Annabelle is here in all her infamous glory." Then the man showed a tightly closed cabinet in which the doll is located. Tony, who like the Warren family, is an expert in the study of paranormal phenomena, pointed out that Annabelle is guarded by security at all times. He also stated that her escape is practically impossible due to the security measures applied in the museum facility. Well, maybe Annabelle is not a threat to people, at least for now, but this toy doesn't stop scaring us, and the story about it's still alive. Nowadays, it is mainly thanks to the film productions she is a protagonist of, or which are loosely connected with her story, and from the so-called Conjuring universe. We would like to remind you that there are 3 parts about the doll itself: Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, and Annabelle Comes Home. They have made a total of almost $800 million worldwide, and it's probably only a matter of time until there will be another part about this dark figure. Although of course, as we said before, the image of a demonic toy is different from the real one, though in the end, a ragdoll wouldn't have had such an effect as the porcelain one, which unsettles the viewers with its disturbing moving gaze. However, since we're talking about appearances, there is also a dark story connected with the original appearance of the doll. The creator of it was Johnny Grell, an American writer. It was he who painted the face of Raggedy Ann on an old toy that his daughter brought to him, but soon afterwards the girl passed away. In 1915, the man patented an image of a doll with such a characteristic triangular nose, a wide smile, and hair made of red yarn, and the image of the toy at the time was used as a symbol of an ongoing anti-vaccination campaign. But this is not the end of fascinating facts about this story. For when it came into the hands of the Warren couple, evil powers came with it to their home. Then they decided to conduct further exorcisms, which incidentally are held periodically at the museum. They were performed by a Catholic priest, Jason Bradford, who, during the ritual, shouted, and we quote, "You are just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anybody." These words, however, had a lamentable effect, for when the priest was driving home at a busy crossroads, the brakes suddenly stopped working. There was an accident which made the car be fit for scraps, but fortunately the priest was fine. He claimed that a moment before the collision, he saw an image of a doll in a mirror. If any of you ever decide to visit the Warren Museum of the Occult, which as I mentioned before is located in Connecticut, the Annabelle exhibition would surely be a key point during the tour. However, it does present itself a little differently than what is shown in the show. The doll is not sitting in a large glass cabinet, but one made entirely out of wood. Apart from the warning on it telling people not to open it under any circumstances, it is worth to pay attention to another detail. That is a tarot card attached next to the toy. And probably no one should be surprised that it presents the devil, and this detail was also used by the filmmakers. According to experts, this is the strongest card in the tarot deck, and being attached to the door of the box, it is an additional warning that out of all the exhibits in the museum, this is the one you should be most afraid of. And so curious, after watching our episode, are you feeling in a very Halloween mood? Is anybody going to be sleeping with the light on tonight? Have any of you visited the museum before? Did you know that true story of the horrifying Annabelle doll? What do you think about the films that are based on it? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you again soon in a new video.